Oh, well, we'll see if I get corrupted.
1 hour. Alright, what is going on, everybody? Hope you all having a great day. Enjoying your weekend. Ugh. You're finally feeling better. You were sick for a good while. Feeling better now, though. Thank God. Felt like I was sick for a very long time. Ugh. Verdict was strep throat. I had that sickness a while back ago, like 10 years ago, and it was awful. It wasn't as bad as it was back then, but thank God this time around. It's still bad, though. Strep throat, man, is nothing to play with. I do not wish it upon anyone. Not even my greatest enemy. How bad it is. Fever, chills, fatigue, hurts to swallow, throat feels swollen. Feels like you're swallowing glass. Not a good time. I don't recommend it. But we are feeling a little bit better. Doesn't hurt to swallow as much. Doesn't hurt to talk as much. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying your weekend. Sunday, you know, the season finale for The Last of Us shows on tonight. Get with the wife, see if she wants to watch it tonight or if she just wants to wait. Usually we watch it on Thursdays. We have a babysitter for our son. Ugh. And as for videos, tomorrow will be the third iteration for the random gun challenge. I don't have a new one recorded and edited for the members. Because if you're a member, channel member, you'll get early access to a video. You kind of get the let's say like tomorrow episode 3 will come out for everybody, but usually if you're a member you would get episode 4 same day. But I don't have nothing edited and finished because I was sicker than fuck. Haven't been able to get anything done. So, there's that. But we're going to try to get some stuff done. We're going to talk about some stuff today. A little bit of stuff to talk about today. Let's see. What was that? So there is an article that came out May 20th, 2025. 5 days ago. I know I'm a little late, but it basically touches up on what we essentially talked about in a previous video that we made on the channel. Let me see if I can pull up when exactly that was. Because we all know Factions 2 was canceled. Multiplayer for The Last of Us. However, let's see here. Let's see. About a month ago, I'm gonna click this, it'll probably play audio, but try to see when exactly. April 1st, 2025. So it wasn't April Fool's, but wasn't an April Fool's joke, but yeah. Almost 2 months ago. There was an article rumored that Naughty Dog was working on a secret game off to the side, aside from their latest, newest game, Intergalactic. There's a rumor that they brought on somebody that has worked on The Last of Us previously and Uncharted, but they stepped away and worked on another game. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they worked on a game I'm trying to see. Essentially, yeah, they essentially left, I believe it says Crystal Dynamics, where they worked on Marvel's Avengers. And they came back into Naughty Dog and was like, hey, didn't work out over here with Crystal Dynamics with Avengers. Let's come back with Naughty Dog, since I have previous experience there with Uncharted and The Last of Us, and let's work on a game. Now, do we know what that game is? No, we don't. What we do know is that Neil Druckmann himself confirmed that this is true. This is not just a rumor anymore. This is facts. Let's see if we can turn this over here. So, it's a little chopped off. Bring that back over here. So, looks good enough. Here's the article. It says The Last of Us developer Naughty Dog working on a second unannounced game other than Intergalactic. The Heretic Prophet Neil Druckmann confirms. Okay, confirms. The question is, but what is the game? So we're gonna get into this. And see. I don't know if they have any more information, but basically this is confirming it. Not only just a rumor anymore. It says Naughty Dog chief Neil Druckmann has revealed the studio has a secret unannounced second game in the works on other than Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Interview with Press X to Continue podcast. Druckmann discusses ongoing roles at Sony-owned Naughty Dog. On Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, Druckmann works with two game directors, Matthew Gallant and Kurt Marganow, co-writing the game with narrative director Claire Care? Or Carey? I don't know. Druckmann did not say which director is working on the second game, however. There is another game that has been being worked on at Naughty Dog, where I'm more of a producer role, and I get to mentor and watch this other team give feedback. Be like the executive in the room. I enjoy all these roles. And the fact I jump between one to the next, it makes my job very exciting and always feeling fresh. I'm never bored. They say it is unclear at which stage the game is in production. Intergalactic: Heretic Prophet is announced, so you'd imagine it's further along. But what is the second game? There are some obvious candidates. Could it be Last of Us 3? Druckmann has expressed his uncertainty in the past being able to make the game, but has said he has an ending in mind for what the game would be, which we discussed that as well in the Grounded 2 documentary. Based on Druckmann's comments about having more of a producer role on his mystery second game, it doesn't sound like it's The Last of Us 3, as you'd imagine. He'd want to be heavily involved and take on a director role for that game. Alternatively, it could be another Uncharted game. There hasn't been a brand new Uncharted game since 2017's The Lost Legacy. Could it finally be time for a return? And there's always a chance this second game could be a brand new intellectual property, as Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet is. That is true. It could be a whole new IP again. Could be a sequel to Uncharted. I mean, they, like I said, they hinted at Nathan Drake's daughter at the end of The Thief's End. We could, you know, carry on the legacy as the daughter in Uncharted. Very possible. Very, very possible. Be right back, guys. All right, we're back. So, very possible it could be Uncharted. And that would be interesting because, you know, like I said, it's been how long since has been since 2017's The Lost Legacy. It has been a while since we had Uncharted. That would be interesting. All right, where were we? Worth noting that there's always a chance this second game never comes out or is never properly revealed by Sony. Naughty Dog has endured a tumultuous time in recent years. Man, that's a word I ain't seen before. Holy shit. With the cancellation of its The Last of Us multiplayer game to focus on single-player games coming amid an apparent full pack of live service titles at Sony, Naughty Dog stopped development on The Last of Us Online in December 2023, saying it would have needed to pull its resources into post-launch content for years to come, an approach that would have severely impacted its ability to develop future single-player games. Historically, Naughty Dog has struggled to work on two big games at the same time, the one tending to end up top of the tree internally. The studio hasn't released a brand new game since the 2020s, The Last of Us 2, with remakes and collections in the interim. So Naughty Dog hasn't came out with a brand new game since The Last of Us Part 2. That's crazy. 5 whole years. So I'm wondering when Intergalactic is going to hit shelves. Intergalactic Heretic Prophet features a star-studded cast that includes Tati Gabrielle from the Uncharted movie as protagonist Jordan A. Moon. So this is just basically, I would say they are playing it at the office and it's incredible. Oh, is this talking about Intergalactic, how they're playing Intergalactic? Yeah. Okay. So said they ain't made a good game since the Jak and Daxter trilogy. Holy shit. Great, Novak, I promise you we don't want another Uncharted game. Also, I've been trying to chat for the entirety of your stream and had to 9-factor authenticate my stuff, get 10 codes, sign into new emails. Twitch is bad. I should be on YouTube as well. I don't know if you just got the notification for Twitch or something. Be trying to multi-stream for Twitch and YouTube. Unless it crashed out on me. But it is confirmed that Naughty Dog is working on a secret game. And it begs the question, is why is it such a secret? That popped up on here. Got a bad feeling about it. I feel like they could do something good with Uncharted, but at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, that seems like they kind of ended that story. But of course, with video games, and it's almost like movies, you always got to make a sequel, you got to make another one, or it's either a reboot or, you know, hiding it from us because it'll be some half-tested, bug-riddled game. Because there's almost like there's two sides of it. Like, they could probably be hiding it, keeping it a secret to keep it from getting in the way of Intergalactic. Because right now, that's like their main shit right now. Like, Naughty Dog's main shit is this game, Intergalactic. We got to put all of our resources and marketing into this game. We don't want to, like, talk about another game that we're making. And it gets so much hype and so much hype behind it that they lose the attention from Intergalactic. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a strategy. Or I'm trying to think of like another reason why they would keep it a secret. Or to kind of like if it's The Last of Us Part 3, do you really need to keep that a secret? I guess like the only reason would be to keep it a secret is that people would get so hyped for The Last of Us Part 3, they wouldn't give a shit about Intergalactic. But at the same time, people are still going to buy Intergalactic because it's going to come out fairly soon. T-Lu 1.5. Play as Tommy. I wouldn't mind like a prequel. I think I've said it before. Play as Tommy where he's a firefly. Tommy's a bad motherfucker. He's a bad man. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of why they would keep it a secret. I think the only two scenarios is like we're keeping a secret because we don't want to lose focus and attention off of Intergalactic, and we also don't. We want to keep it a secret so we can surprise fans. First kill that we ever see on human life is Tommy capping that soldier in Tlu 1. Oh yeah, saving Joel. Didn't save Sarah, but you know. Saved Joel. He used Joel's revolver too, didn't he? Well, that revolver's got some history. That's what kind of bugged me in the series. The show. Season 2. Ellie's supposed to be using Joel's revolver and she doesn't even barely use it. She's using a fucking Beretta or something like that. This isn't. Let me look that up. Let me make sure. I could have sworn in the game she uses it. Tommy DLC, yeah, that'd be fire. Oh, maybe she is using the Beretta in the game. Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought she like uses Joel's Magnum, the revolver. Got Mandela effect going on here. Yeah, that finale tonight. What I'm hoping for is that it's The Last of Us Part 3 and it's coming with a multiplayer, or it's just The Last of Us Online. They're redoing it or something. I'm trying to think of like, would they really do a whole nother brand new intellectual property? Like they just recently did a whole new IP. Like they really have the balls and like the resources to have 2 new IPs at the same time. Like I feel like that's just not going to be a thing. I think it's a strong bet that it's going to be some form of The Last of Us, whether it's Part 3 or the online. Because like Sony's doing all this shit with these live service games and they're constantly failing because they're half-assed, and it's like Bungie in this marathon issue, bro, it's just a catastrophe. And to think that Sony bought out Bungie for $3.6 billion, billion with a B, but then to place all their bets on this live service game that they're banking on, and right now it has like the shittiest situation of like exposure, fucking art theft and shit. But yeah, y'all really doing something with these live service games. Whereas you guys would have put all your bets on The Last of Us multiplayer. You know, you guys would be be in it. People would be buying that shit. People would be playing it. I'd pay for it. I'd buy it. Let's see if we can get the video. He was in an interview. Neil Druckmann. The Neil Druckmann special. These guys only have 279 subscribers. What the fuck? How the hell did they get Neil Druckmann on here? I don't know. We'll watch it. My bet is on Arc Raiders. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. For sure. There's no doubt that that game's going to be good. I mean, it's already got praise. What was that? I don't know if it's Arc Raiders. I think it was that Expedition game. Claire Obscure Expedition. Someone was saying that that game's already been greenlit for a live action movie. The game like just came out. Arc Raiders is a new extraction PvP or PvE, I don't know. New extraction shooter. We're about to watch a interview with Neil Druckmann on Press X to Continue where he apparently confirms, I hope it's in this video because it's the only video that I've seen, where he confirms that they're working on another game that's in secrecy. Yeah, I missed out on the playtest for Arc Raiders, but all the gameplay that I've seen, man, it looks awesome. Kind of plays like Battlefront in a way. Kind of has the same UI as Battlefront, but yeah, it looks cool as shit. Like how it just shows this dude's face like that. Oh, that's funny. All right.
We made a deal to tell this story, and we're telling this story.
Hello and welcome
loud,
to the
innit?
Continue Club for this very special episode of Press X to Continue. Now, if you're new here, maybe you found the episode title intriguing. You're a Last of Us fan, I imagine, and I'm wondering what on earth is going on here. Well, welcome. My name is Stefan Powell, and this is Press X to Continue. At times, we've
Expedition 33 is not my thing. And no worries.
And we bring you new episodes on a Tuesday on Spotify.
I haven't played a whole lot of turn-based RPGs, but what I've seen looks pretty cool.
You grind for XP every single night, or
See if I can
you
add
play
chat.
coffee golf on your phone. Or maybe like me, you're a bit obsessed with Mini Motorways at the moment, which is an old mobile game, but it's a banger.
Oh.
Whatever it is you play and however you play, welcome along to the
Barely
club.
hear
You're
it.
most welcome here. You can call yourself an XC Beast if you want. Come and find us on social media, Press X Pod on Blue Sky and TikTok, Press X Podcast
Better.
on Instagram. There's a Discord as well. We would love to have you in the conversation. But let's cut to the chase, right? You are here because earlier on in the week, I sat down with Neil Druckmann. Neil being, of course, the creative director behind The Last of Us games. He also worked on the Uncharted franchise as well. He is executive producing The Last of Us TV adaptation. He's also directed the latest episode. That is episode 6 of season 2. So we sat down to talk about his work on the show, and it's a fascinating conversation. Neil's a busy man, so we didn't have loads of time, but there's plenty of good stuff in there. So watch and enjoy, but a bit of a warning, there are tons, and I mean tons of spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the latest
Turn up
episode,
my volume.
go and watch that first, and then come back and find us later. Have fun.
I like all your
Cracking, well,
elephants.
Well, yes, I was just explaining to Sarah and Christine. So I'm filming in a wind farm tomorrow, right? And so I'm at my parents' house. This is my dad's office.
That's cool.
TV show is trash.
Like he does internet training from here, so I've had to borrow my dad's equipment. So the elephants aren't necessarily mine. So it's a bit random, but here we are, Neil. You know,
You're a bad artist. You got to take credit for everything.
Not quite. I see your guitar in the background. It's obviously an influence. But listen, we won't chat about that. We are recording this just in the middle of the season 2 going out, and just before your episode hits the screen, the episode you've directed. How are you finding it halfway through like this? Because I suppose you've got two things to worry about. You've got the overall sentiment, right? Because you're the executive producer, and you've obviously created the game in the first instance. But then also, specifically, you're worried about what people are going to think about your episode you've directed. So how are you feeling?
The whole thing is so surreal. I'm in a very unique position because it's my second go at this story. Hallie Gross can relate. You know, she was my co-writer on the second game, but I've just now lived in this world for so long, and I am just. I guess lately I've just been really fascinated with the adaptation and all the various reactions to it. And I just had this moment the other day when, you know, I was reading something. Actually, people were critical of some choices that we've made in the show.
Yeah.
And they were saying, like, oh, I like this better in the game. And this was more subtle in the game, whatever they said.
There's a
And I
lot
was
of
just like,
that.
and I just had this joyous moment of like, look how far games have come, that we could have this conversation. It's like, you could compare the two, and that the game can sit side by side with an HBO show, and you can have this conversation. And even if people are critical of it, I just love it. And then there's people that love it, and there's people that love the show better, and they're like, oh, these choices were better than the game. And I'm like, isn't that fascinating? Look at that. And so to me, I'm just very intrigued with it, and I feel there's a certain privilege that I feel, and a certain appreciation of like, you know, as an artist, as a writer, as a storyteller, whatever title you want to put on us, you just hope you find some audience, and then some audience that will not only like on one level, like on the highest level, you want them to be entertained, but then you want them to just engage on a deeper level with it, to like think about the character's psychology or how it is, and like in this case, think about the adaptation and those creative choices, and because there is no like. There's no template of like how you do this. There's no 100% correct choices in something that is so subjective. And I just love that people are engaging with it on such a deep level, and it's viewed by millions of people across the world.
Yeah, and that's sort of, you've already touched on something that I was interested in covering, this idea that, I mean, I've got an issue with the term gamer, if I'm honest, Neil, because I feel like I'm not a sporter because I like sport, or I'm not a movier because I like movies. It's just something I do. I play games. I do these things. But gamers,
I can relate to that.
Do you see what I mean? But like, just as a handy shorthand, gamers, there was a reaction to the first series, like, oh look, like a pride in the sense that this is a story that was told first in games, and now that has worked as an adaptation, and people have really gelled with it. When it comes to the second season, and you're starting from that base, does that make it harder because you are under more scrutiny now for the choices that you're going to make, especially some of the stuff that happens in series 2? And this is spoiler, you know, we can go spoilerific as you want to.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're avoiding
etc.
criticisms.
It's all tough. It's not like season 1 was easy and this one is very difficult. Season 1 was extremely tough, and season 1, you know, I remember announcing the casting for Joel, and people were like, why would you cast Pedro? He can't even form a full beard. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, maybe that's not as important to us as the performance behind the person that we cast. People,
there's always going to be
usually
people that
upset by
hyper
Dylan
criticize
Frank and the
stuff.
fact that you're not going to see the same exact stories we had in the game, but instead we got this really beautiful moment that could not exist without my collaboration with Craig Mazin. So then what was important for us is to then say, okay, that process led to success. And success, I just mean people watched it, they're wanting to come in for another season, they engaged with it in the way that we wanted them to engage it. It seemed to have done well, it won awards, it made HBO happy that we got a second go at this. Let's replicate that process. I'm not as concerned of like, how much do people like a particular character or not? I just need them to understand these characters and the psychology behind them. Like, you know, I just did an interview where someone asked me, did you ever consider not killing Joel? And the answer is not really, because that is so essential to the story. Now, maybe, and this gets into a philosophical conversation between like business and art, and how much should business lead art? And
I mean, not even consider it a little bit. Not even considered not killing Joel, not even a little bit. Nah, we killing Joel. He said, nah, that shit's written in stone. Do you think Neil has as much pull with the TLU title since it may be licensed to other services now, like HBO? We killing him, we reviving him and killing him again. Yeah, they made it for sure. Like, there was no question about it that he's dead, the way they did it in the show. I don't know. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, it is the main driving force behind Ellie's motives, why she does what she does. I guess it just pushes the story forward where, you know, as Ellie, I feel like if Joel was alive, all you'd want to do is like constantly want to play as Joel. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder if they just like share the licensing and like how much does Neil Druckmann get to say for the show, whereas like the higher ups and the big wigs at HBO are like, no, we're doing it this way. But no, we're telling the story this way. We don't want to do it this way. Oh, we're gonna do this with this character instead. Like, I think the dumbest decision in the show for season 2 was having Dina tag along with Ellie when they're in Seattle, knowing damn well that she's pregnant AF. It only had success with people that knew nothing with the game. I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree on that, but I get where you're coming from. I mean, like season 1, I liked it. I mean, I feel like it was one of the most faithful adaptations of a video game until Fallout released. But also, Fallout is telling a story in a much different gaming universe, in a much different realm, whereas The Last of Us game versus show is almost 1-to-1. There's a lot of people that never played it. I'm sure it opened up a whole new fan base, people that never played it. But that's not saying the only people that liked the show were people that never played the game. That's not true. He'll probably gets bitch smacked by the director and producers and says, sit and watch. Yeah. People who didn't play the game probably enjoyed the show. Old ladies and non-gamers. Fallout show even good. Yeah, Fallout show is really good. I like it. First episode made you want to commit crimes? Of what, Fallout? Or The Last of Us? That's crazy.
How much should artistic integrity overcome business? And
I'm sure Pedro in the show, right?
I'm sure someone could make the case. I was talking to Casey Bloys the other day, and he just told me that I just got off the call with an agent, and he was like,
"Give it a chance, man. Give it a chance.
$10 million to not kill your star. Are you out of your mind?" And he's
what did he say?
And he said, which I love. This is a call with an agent. Maybe, and this gets into a philosophical conversation between like business and art, and how much should business lead art, and how much should artistic integrity overcome business. And
I'm sure Pedro in the show, right?
I'm sure someone could make the case. I was talking to Casey Bloys the other day, and he just told me, he's like, I just got off the call with an agent, and he was like, you should have offered those guys $10 million to not kill your star. Are you out of your mind? And he's like, and he said, which I love. This is why I love that we landed at HBO. He said, no, you make a certain deal. We made a deal to tell this story, and we're telling this story. This is like, we pride ourselves in supporting our creators. This is the story we're telling. And I understand. I predicted this would be the reaction when I was working on the second game, and this was like a bit of a heartbreak for me, that I knew I was making a story that would be divisive. That's not why I made the story. I didn't like that it would be divisive, but I knew there were certain people that loved the first game that would hate the second one. And that's just the nature of making a sequel, and making a non-traditional sequel, if you will. I think people looked at the first game and thought they could predict what a sequel would be, and we didn't deliver on that. And I know, I kind of like that. So I'm rambling a little bit, but my point is, the story already has some of that intense reaction baked into it. And then when you add adaptation on top of it, and it's a sequel now to this first season, yes, you're going to get very, very intense reaction. I think that's just like inherent in what we're doing. And the fact that small changes become bigger changes over time, in this butterfly effect sort of thing. But my job, I feel like, is to make sure that even as we go on these detours, that the destination remains the same, that the soul of this thing remains the same. And of that, I truly believe we have pulled it off. And I hope when people look at the full season and see where we go, and then the full story, once we have the rest of it told, they'll see how all the pieces fit. But also, I have to accept that I'm working with a collaborator, with a partner, Craig Mazin, who has his own ideas. And it's going to be a little bit different. But that is the joy of an adaptation to me, especially the joy of something that's so cinematic already, if we were just kind of just
I also heard that Craig Mason is the one giving the ideas for like Bella Ramsey's terrible fucking acting or terrible dialogue choices. So that explains a lot. The whole I'm gonna be a dad and stupid shit. So, hey, good job with that one. Anyways,
just copying it beat for beat. At some point, I think Craig and I would just kind of get just bored, and we like, and I would just say, just go.
She just comes off as a 15-year-old girl
YouTube,
at all times. Yeah, that's another issue. It's very, very hard for me to take her seriously. Like, I think it doesn't help because I don't know. I think the makeup department and the wardrobe department could have made her look and feel more like a mature adult with a vengeance. But at the same time, they're also trying to go back and forth between flashbacks. Like the last episode, she had to play 15-year-old Ellie, 16-year-old Ellie, 17-year-old Ellie, 18-year-old Ellie, and then 19-year-old Ellie. And like in all that time, like from here up just doesn't change. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like her outfits change. I don't know. Her hair gets a little bit longer, but like, I don't know. Yeah, freckles, wrinkles, dirt, scarred. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be more convincing. Like, this is HBO after all, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, once Joel dies, there's supposed to be a tonal shift with Ellie. Where, like, there's take no shit. Like, I don't even know if she even cracks any jokes, or if she does, it's very rarely. And if she does it in, like, a more meaner way, like she, like, talks shit kind of joking way. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Gotta love it.
What's the point of this?
Yeah, it kind of defeats the object then, right? If the idea of this is to show that the stories told in games can work in other mediums, then isn't the suppose the point is that you need to be able to go off in different directions. You might have had an idea, you wanted it to go one way, but then you work in the collaboration and they take it in a different direction.
Maybe it could, but let's simplify this problem a little bit, because part of it is just the nature of these two mediums requires certain changes. I think if we were to just copy the game, we would make a poor show and we would not find the audience that we found. I really believe that. But let's even remove that, okay? Let's just say right now we're doing Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2 again, and you put a whole new creative team together, it would not be the same game because the nature of what we do is highly, highly.
Like even the outfits look clean and perfect. Like none of the outfits look rugged and shit.
And not only that, the people involved of where they are at that time in their lives.
I'm fine with Joel dying. It's just that there was no build up to Joel's death. Yeah, it's just shock. It's just shock value.
That game, definitely where I was 12 years ago when we started working on that game, definitely different of where I was like 15 years, however long ago when we worked on game one. So yes, all those things you have to into account, and then you have Bella and Pedro and all the cast,
could have let it happen in hour 1 or 2,
and they're not copying someone else's performance. Just like Heath Ledger didn't copy Jack Nicholson, they have to reinterpret it themselves. That's what they do as artists, as actors.
People say the same about Hamlet, isn't it? You can hear.
I guess it's a hot take for me.
Of the same Shakespeare.
What they should have done, because this kind of reminded me, because I saw somewhere that apparently season 3 is gonna be Abby's season. I guess I don't know what the hell's going on with there, but I saw that. But I was thinking, like, you could build this in up such a way as like such a plot twisty way. Said no, I don't know. Have The Last of Us Part 1, and then like have The Last of Us Part 2, where it starts off as you're playing as this Abby character, but you don't know who she is and what she's done. Or none of that shit. Maybe you play as her as a young version of her because you backtrack with her and shit. So it's like all this back and forth. Ellie older, Ellie younger, Abby older, Abby younger, back and forth, day 1, day 2, all this shit. But like, have The Last of Us Part 2, or like not even be The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe it's like a side spin-off game where you play as Abby and you get to the part and you end up finding out that at the end or something that Joel killed your dad, and then it happens. I don't know. I could explain that better, but it should be like a better way, like hit the fans with that knowledge, hit the audience with that knowledge that Joel is intertwined with this person this way. Instead of just like, hey, boom, you're fucking dead. I don't know.
Shakespeare script, right? And we're still watching it all these hundreds of years later. You could have chosen, though, Neil, any episode to direct this season. Why this one?
You know, it came up. I knew I wanted to direct again. I had such joy with it the first time, and it's a sort of a way for me to just remain really involved with the show. I like to do a deep dive to get to know the crew. You know, from costume designer to VFX and so on and so forth. And then I talked quite a bit with Craig. You know, we looked at the shape of the season. I even had like quite a few conversations with Pedro, and we wanted to work with each other again. And then I was just thinking about this episode. You know, on the one hand, it has
Start off with
certain
Abby
scenes
building
that I've
her up
directed
with
already,
the WLF and flipped it back with Ellie and Joel. Yeah.
which is it can be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I'm like, oh, I get to
Because them
do it
trying to
again,
get
and,
you
like,
behind
but do
Abby
it in live
after
action,
she
I get
kills
to learn so
Joel
much
is
because I
just
have this like
bad,
exact
bro.
comparison between these two mediums.
Like, come on.
But on the other hand, I've done it. But there was enough new material there, and that porch scene is so important to me because that porch scene is you know, at the heart of this show, this season is Joel and Ellie. At the heart, like, and if you get in the deeper to Joel, Ellie, this might be their most important moment is this conversation because it gets into like everything that has happened before. And in this episode, we go even further back in time of what has happened between him and his dad, and everything that will happen
Would have been
from this
behind
point
Abby's
on.
side for
You
a
could
couple
look
hours.
back at this moment.
Then we
and
learned
see
that her
how it
dad was killed
affects
by
all
Joel.
of
Yeah.
them. So because it was just so important to the story, I'm like,
I feel like that would make the player
feels like a
more
good one.
conflicted in a better way.
If you're going to take any of them, I'm going to take the big meaty ones. Thank you very much.
I like high stakes. What can I say?
Yeah, absolutely. How do you find the difference between directing on TV as opposed to directing in games? I appreciate that the technical concerns are very different, but in terms of the actual art of directing.
Yeah, you know, each moment in time, you know, like so much of directing is just a lot of choices. Like, you know,
Forced into
for example,
unintentionally
in this episode,
choosing
the
sides.
props department will come
Forced
to
to
me. It's
play
like,
the game and watch it
here
unfold.
are 5
which I
different
think would be
cakes
better
with
than
different
playing a
frostings.
murderer. Yeah.
Which one do you think is appropriate? And you're like, you have to make a choice there. Here are different shirts. Here's a bunch of different locations you could go shoot. So there's just like just a ton of questions you have to answer. Look at the schedule. Just figure out how we can shoot in the most efficient ways. Each one of those moments in time is very, very similar, sometimes identical to what I do in the video game. You know, when you have to give art direction, it's art direction, right? If you're thinking about, okay, what's the image language for this story and how do we, certain palettes, how do we tie them back to other scenes? When you
I'd
have
be
to
looking
give
for Joel while doing a
an
mission
audio
for the
breakdown, it's the
Looking
same.
for info.
It's the same
Yeah.
kind of notes. When I have to work with Gustavo, it's identical. We're talking about music and themes. The big difference is there's a difference in order of operation. So that when I shoot something for the game and I'm in the volume and we capture performance, the performance is captured as data in 3D space. So I have how the person's face moves, their voice, how their body moves. And then after the fact, we could change their costume. After the fact, we could change the camera angle. So it'd be like, oh, you know, the way they play that moment, that should actually be a close-up, even though we thought that was going to be all right. I could go in with like a virtual camera without the actors being there after we shot the scene, and I could move around and see the scene from every angle I want. We could change the lighting. We could change the set. I could even take someone's performance and put it on a totally different body if I wanted to. I don't have that ability and that flexibility in live action. In live action, you do all the prep beforehand. You make all those choices beforehand, and you prep sometimes for certain things on this episode for months, like the space capsule sequence and how we're going to pull that off. And then you have that moment where you're shooting it. And that's actually, you know, you've done most of your work as a director before you're even shooting. A lot of people think, oh, it's just when you're shooting, that's when you're doing the work. Most of the work for the episode has already happened. Now you're just hoping you've done the right homework and you've done it to the right degree so that when it's time, when you say action, you hold your breath and you wait for all the pieces to come together and you say cut. And often the first time they did not. And then you're there, okay, in the moment, let's change the camera angle, let's change the lighting, give some performance notes, let's go again. And you do it enough times and then hopefully you've captured it. Because really what you got on camera is what people are going to see with some flexibility with VFX. But for the most part, that intensity and when you get it right, it can feel like a drug. It's a high when you get it correctly. That's what I really enjoyed about the live action. It's very final in that moment where on the CG on the gaming side you could kind of noodle forever if you wanted to.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could. I mean, that's it's hard anyway. I can remember someone once said to me,
Wouldn't
"How
even
did
have cared
Picasso
if they
know to
made me
finish his
switch
painting? You
between
could
back and
always
forth
continue
between the two
working on
while it
it."
unfolds.
Look, Neil, you're a busy man, so I've just got a couple of questions to finish off before I've got to let you go.
Yeah, see if he talks about this.
Can I ask about the Abby switch up? I know that without giving anything away with stuff we
Abby
haven't seen in the show yet, but for me, the moment when I realized I was going to have to control Abby in the game for a prolonged period of time was one of my most conflicting moments in games. I hated it for a moment. I was like, I don't want to play this person that I loathe. But that was something that you can do in gaming that I'm not sure how you're going to do or attempt to do something similar in television. How much of a conversation did you have around how you manage that relationship and how much energy has gone into that?
Quite a bit. Those were a big part of our conversations as more so than season one, we talked a lot about structure because so much of the second game, the structure is very important in how the story's told, when information is revealed. You talked about this moment where you play as a character you probably despise at that moment. That's by
Probably.
design. I'm glad that you felt angry in that moment.
I loathed it. I hated it.
I'm glad you felt angry. I wanted to piss you off.
I found it very difficult. I had to put the controller down for a bit. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You're not the only one.
Just make her jump off that cliff. ASAP.
And the work was like, can we? Well, again, it's hard to talk about because you have played the entire game, and we could talk about the game. People who are listening to this might not have, and therefore, talking about it, I'm going to spoil where the show goes. So I want to be careful with that. And
yeah, there's real no way to have that same effect in the show.
But I'll just say there were a lot of conversations around that structure, and I will say there's certain cinematic things you could do. They're not quite the same as interactive things, but cinematic things as far as point of view, and get the viewer to relate to a particular character based on how you're shooting it, how you're presenting it, and there's a point of view. And I'll just say that thing you're talking about, just wait.
Oh,
Just
God.
wait. Very good. Neil, just to finish off, obviously it's a busy time for you. You just directed this 6th episode. It was last year, but in the middle of press and the show going out, and of course you're working on Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. How are you splitting your time? Are you able to compartmentalize creatively in terms of like, oh, now I'm working on this, now I'm thinking about that?
It's one of my favorite things about my job is that I get to spin so many different plates. Sometimes too many, and one falls to the floor. So I try to limit those moments in time. But I enjoy being in the thick of it, like being like in the weeds, like directing this episodes, and that gives me a certain level of joy. And then I enjoy being very high level and giving support to other people, like Craig Mazin, my partner in the show, and knowing that he would do things differently than I, but that is the beauty of working with him, is I get to be surprised with another artist playing in this playground that we've created with the video game. Likewise, I get the joy of, we have several directors on Intergalactic. I work with 2 game directors, Matthew Gallant and Kurt Marganow. I have a co-writer in Claire Carey on Intergalactic. So there's times where I'm away and they are in charge. I get to come back and be surprised and enjoy with certain choices they made, and certain other ones I pull my hair out and we have to change course or argue about it, and I'm convinced that I'm wrong. And then, there's another game that's being worked out in Naughty Dog where I'm more of a producer role, and I get to mentor and watch this other team and give feedback and be like the executive in the room. I enjoy all those roles. And the fact that I jump between one to the next, it makes my job very exciting and always feeling fresh. I'm never bored.
Well, Lee, listen, thank you very much for your time, and all the best now with the last few episodes coming out. And stay in the weeds, because people are really enjoying your work and stuff. So keep,
that's
no
it.
pressure, but keep going. Just keep making stuff for us, please, because we have a nice time with it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Fantastic. So basically right there, they got another game off to the side that they're working on. So he helps direct the shows. Yeah, some of the episodes. He directed last week's, if I'm not mistaken. Some days he isn't there and leaves it up to others that sometimes they don't do that well, and he has to try and fix it. Yeah. Fix it, or they try to argue their case and prove that he's wrong. telling a story about Abby and her relationship with Owen, Mel, Manny, Jordan, or Aaliyah. How about not doing that and going to work every day? I'm curious though what that game is, man. That's off to the side. That secret game. I was hoping he'd ask him more about it. He just kind of leaves it there. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm hoping it's some form of either The Last of Us Part 3, and it's also gonna have a multiplayer with it. Maybe they'll take a step back and simplify it more, so do it more like True Factions, or maybe they'll push off The Last of Us Part 3 and make a multiplayer online. I don't know. Still iffy on the whole live service shit, but I feel like if it was in the Last of Us universe, it'd do somewhat well. It'd do better than most of these other live service games. That's what I think. But yeah, the pacing for part 2, man, is just all over the place. I feel like they could have told the story in a better way that gets you more behind Abby's situation, behind her side, and then kind of like do a plot twist reveal that like it was Joel who killed her father, and fuck, and now the player's conflicted and you don't know what to do. Lots of unique gameplay for sure. For sure. Hey, yo. What the hell is going on over here? They were focused on making better gameplay and a decent story. Yeah. Yeah, the gameplay for part 2 is amazing. Smooth, buttery smooth. Mechanics are awesome. Everything flows very well. Yeah, I think they just had certain story beats and they just wanted to like fill in the rest. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was also in a time where like bigger and longer games mean better. Like these open world and these very long games that took fucking hundreds of hours to play were like the new thing kind of taking over. And I feel like now it's almost like the whole open world, oh, the bigger the map, the better, the longer the story, the better. And like, I feel like that kind of became a thing for a couple years. And then like, I feel like it's dying out now. Like certain games have like done too much filler shit, you know, fetch quests and all that stuff. And I feel like now a lot of people are kind of taken aback by that. Especially me personally. Like when Assassin's Creed Origins came out, that was dope. But then Odyssey came out, and then like that map was so fucking huge that like it was too overwhelming, and I just didn't even bother with it. Then what was the other Assassin's Creed with the Vikings? I can't even remember the name of it. Valhalla? That was like the same thing. I was just more interested in it because it was Vikings and shit. It had like Asgard and all that stuff. But same thing, man. It's just filler quest, fetch quest. Open world, but a bland open world with not really a whole lot to do. Just want a well-functioning game with a good story and skill tree. Producers like, let's make this map huge as fuck so it'll take longer to beat, right? That's what I'm saying, like... I don't know, let me check. How long to beat The Last of Us Part 1? 14 to 16 hours. How long to beat The Last of Us Part 2? About 24 hours in length. So, because you're likely to spend around 43 hours to complete 100%. So right there, the game's doubled from 1 to part 2. They should have went They should have went back and forth like a seesaw going between Abby and Joel and Ellie. So they should have or should not have. Because me personally, man, like obviously some people like that, jumping back and forth. I kind of feel like it takes me out of it, man. The reason why I like part 1 so much better is like, it's just simple. It's there, you know what I mean? You're Joel. You obviously got the prelude. And it jumps 20 years later. You're Joel. You're following Joel through his story. He gets Ellie. It's you and Joel and Ellie. Straight through to the end. Whereas part 2, it's like... I don't even know how the fuck it starts. You start playing as Ellie or you start playing as Joel. I don't fucking know. It's been so long. But it's like... Joel. Ellie. Joel dies. Abby. Ellie day 1. Abby... as a kid, Ellie day 2, or jump back to Ellie as a fucking kid with Joel, and then it's Abby day 2, and then Ellie day 3, and then I'm like, what the fuck, bro? It's just so much back and forth, and you're also backtracking and flashbacking while you're hopping back and forth. So it's like you're over here, and then you're back, and then you're over here, and then you're over here, and then you're over here, then you're forward, and you're back, and then you're over here, and then you're back, and then you're over here. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like I said, they probably could have told Abby's story in a separate game, spin-off game, and then plot twisted the end, revealing that Joel's the one that killed her father, and then you're like, oh shit. And then it's like, a cliffhanger ends. I don't know. Because then you get Ellie's or Abby's side. You know who Abby is. You're familiar with her. It's like you're killing Joel, and then you're also introducing this person, Abby, and you're trying to get people to understand her and be comfortable with her and be familiar with her. And then it's just too much in one game. Oh shit, the next game gonna be crazy. Can't believe Tilu 2 is 10 hours longer. I think it's more than that. Part 1 main story completion 14 to 16 hours. And the main story for part 2, yeah, 24 hours. Yeah, it's 10 hours longer, yeah. It's just because there's so much shit in it, man. But I guess if you... I mean, that's... I think beating the main story, that's probably not even... You know, like I said, completion. To complete it, that's like if you're hunting everything down, looking everywhere, it's like 43 hours. Could have given me 2 games. But you know how game studios are, like, you want to have The Last of Us Part 2. You got to have the sequel. I feel like if they... I don't know. I mean, if they released a spin-off and, like, not a direct sequel, people still would have bought that shit. Like, I feel like there's a way to tell Abby's story and get people behind them. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how would you tell? Like, it starts off, like, maybe she has, like, a monologue talking about how her past, she joined... Did she have a Firefly pendant on? Was her dad a Firefly, or was she a Firefly? And then she becomes part of the WLF. And then they have that whole fucking base in that baseball field game, and I Left Behind DLC. It could have been a spin-off game. Like, yeah, so-and-so killed my father. I'm looking for revenge. And, like, you tell it, you deliver it in a way that gets the player behind it. Like, okay, this is our job. This is our objective. Group, like, crazy motherfucker killed our dad. We're hunting him down. We get closer and closer, and we end up finding out at the end that it's Joel. And then, like, it kind of cliffhangers. I don't know. And then part 2 starts. However. I don't know. But that's just my opinion and thoughts on how part 2 could have been better, pacing-wise. Curious how the second season of the show is going to end tonight. And I am curious what this secret game is. I don't think it's a new IP. There's no way Naughty Dog has 2 separate new IPs at the same time. That's crazy. That's crazy. Uncharted 1 remake? Hey, there you go. Like a full-on remake, yeah. That would actually be cool. The Uncharted 1. Kind of clunky. Older game. Like RE did. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got to be Uncharted or The Last of Us related. I could see... Yeah, because I don't know if they make a new Uncharted game. I don't know if... I mean... Because obviously Nathan Drake's done, right? And like I said, unless they continue it with the daughter, I mean, they showed the daughter for a reason. So, hey, you never know. A remake wouldn't be bad, though. I'm sure people would buy that. I don't know if I would, though. Not us. I don't know if I would spend money on a Uncharted remake. I mean, I guess it would be good if it's in their new engine with, you know, how they did The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. I mean, the engine started with A Thief's End. I don't know. I'm just not gonna get over the fact how they canceled Factions. The Last of Us Online. Bungie stepped in, man. They was like, try to big bro Naughty Dog. And they're like, yo, this low key, this multiplayer kind of ass, B. Like, y'all need to scrap this shit. And then they go off and do Marathon, and look what happened, bro. It said, the art director was following the artist on Twitter for 8 years, since 2017. Yet they tried to blame the art theft on an employee that is no longer in the company. Like, explain you following the artist on Twitter. Sus AF. Halo been the same game for 20 years. Give me T-Lou Faction. They lied. Oh yeah. They try to blame shift, man. They don't want to take the fallout. That game, I mean, I wouldn't say the studio, but the game itself is like holding on by threads. Like, I don't see them pushing that out, man. And if they do, they got just ignorance to the moon. They lied because they sold themselves to PlayStation. Yeah, PlayStation bought them out for $3.6 billion. Like, y'all bet on the wrong horse. PlayStation just needs to sell them at this point. Sony said, hey, we're going to buy Bungie for $3.6 billion. We're going to have Bungie work with Naughty Dog, our most trusted developer. And we're going to have y'all make a Last of Us multiplayer. And then Bungie stepped in and was like, we don't like this. Shut it the fuck down. Naughty Dog was like, yes, master. And then Naughty Dog goes and do their live service marathon game, and it's just getting exposed for being dog water shit. Crazy times we live in. Rob motherfucking Blitzky, what's going on? Welcome to the stream, brother. How are you, man? I'm doing a little bit better. Still trying to recover over this sickness. Hurts to talk a little bit. Hurts to swallow. That sounded kind of gay. What the hell? Faction's gonna play like Halo. Hell no. Energy swords and all. No. Yeah, I think Bungie made Destiny as well. Who made The Division? That wasn't Bungie, was it? Who the fuck? PlayStation should have endorsed Naughty Dog. Yeah. Why can't I remember who made The Division? I say the Destiny isn't too much different from Halo in my opinion. Tom Clancy, right? We craft this energy sword. Is that Ubisoft? Yeah, it's Ubisoft. Okay. That explains a lot. Bro, if you're sad, you can't swallow properly right now, it's fine. Hey, no judgment in 2025, man. Everybody gay once in a while. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel like Sony buying out Bungie of all developers was dumb. Here and there. I think it was the whole console wars, fucking desperation of the console wars and exclusivity and all that stuff, because didn't Microsoft obtain Activision? So technically Microsoft had Call of Duty as an exclusive. So PlayStation had to get a studio as an exclusive, but console exclusive, excuse me, shit. Console exclusivity isn't even a fucking thing anymore. Like, it's obsolete. So you guys spent all this money buying out studios for no fucking reason. It's like, just let Naughty Dog do their thing. Let Naughty Dog make their multiplayer for The Last of Us. Yeah, if you want to bring a company in to help them out, but don't bring a company in to help them out and collaborate and then tell them that it's not good, it's not going to meet the standard, this game isn't going to survive, shut it down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, what the fuck is that? Who does that help? Okay, if it doesn't do good and it isn't going to survive, let them figure that out the hard way, just like every other gaming studio has. You know, Concord and everything else. Have you tried Star Wars Battlefront 2? I think it's alright. I just wish Factions had that supremacy mode for Battlefront 30v30. I played a little bit of the Battlefronts when they first came out. Not too bad. 30v30 sounds nuts. Yeah, it does actually. We were talking about it on the last stream, how like we would, like, not necessarily Battle Royale, Factions Battle Royale, but like something like that. Like 2 big ass teams of like 2 factions. That'd be cool. And like in a wide open map. No purchasables allowed. Military rifles everywhere, right? Yeah, man, I feel like if Sony let Naughty Dog cook on a Last of Us multiplayer, because obviously the standard for online games has changed. Like, that's the new thing, is like extraction shooters, battle royales, you know, multiplayer games have a different standard now, but at the same time, there's a lot of fucking slop. These half-ass, half-baked games just get thrown out there and they slap on these battle passes and all these microtransactions that get under people's radars, or they don't realize how much money they're spending. And they just milk you dry. Free for all, 4v4, v4, v4, like 6 to 10 bucks. I feel like Naughty Dog could make a multiplayer for The Last of Us that could honestly set a new standard. Like, hey, you don't have to have these battle passes. You don't have to have all these stupid microtransactions. Now, they could probably have microtransactions if you want, like for cosmetic stuff. I mean, they did that in the first factions, you know, if you wanted to have a certain helmet or a certain mask. But also, you could unlock those through surviving and getting enough survivors at the end of your 12 weeks if you pass it. So, it's kind of like, there's certain stuff you could earn in the game, and there's certain stuff that you did have to buy, like spend like $1 or $2 on. But it was cosmetic stuff. I feel like Naughty Dog could make a multiplayer for The Last of Us that could definitely shake things up, man. Something that was just grounded and hardcore. That's why I'm looking forward to Arc Raiders. Curious to see what they'll do with that game. I am curious. Twitch stream still going? I think they do make another faction. They better get rid of those exploits. I can't stand all the cheating. Yeah, I'm sure they would. Yeah, the game's so old and it's on an old engine, and thing about games being out for so long, like I said, it's 12 years, man. A game being out for so long, eventually people stumble upon that stuff. Game-breaking stuff. It'd be fun to do that stuff like if it was in the single player, but when you're going against actual players, man. Arc Raiders is going to be the next best hype. Yeah. Game isn't that hard to be cheating. It's very easy to cheat in that game, which makes it worse. It's so accessible, you know? So accessible. But I am curious of what they're going to do with Season 3 with the show, because apparently Season 3 is going to be focused on Abby, right? It's going to be Abby's story, so it's like, I wonder how that's going to go. I don't even know how to do the exploits. I mean, I know, but I don't understand how to do them. That's the thing, though. It's like it's easy to learn. Whiskey wifey, hey yo, how's it going? Got the wifey in the chat. Yeah, the exploits in factions. It's because I don't know how to do crab walking. I've never done the wall shooting, but it's like, if I wanted to learn how to do it, I could probably teach myself very quickly. Crab walking would probably take a little bit longer. That looks a little bit more complicated, but it's like, I'd rather just not even try. Like, it's a waste of time. I haven't even watched the TV show yet. I'm trying to avoid it like the plague. It's alright. It's not terrible, man. I mean, like I said, people are gonna have their opinions on it. Like I said, for the gamers, or like for people that aren't gamers, don't game, it's a way for them to get that story without playing the game. But you can do the running glitch, though. Isn't that same as crab walking? If you're just like running, you're like sprinting while switching your guns or something like that. Playing with bubbles and dancing. Sounds fun. Honestly, like the TV show. Yeah. Let's say, I mean, some people like it. Some people just don't care for it. Me, I'm kind of like in the middle. I feel like I have my nitpicks. It's kind of like I kind of look at certain things and I'm kind of like, why would you do it that way? I don't know. Like Dina going with Ellie and Ellie not like forcing her to stay back. Like she kind of forced her to stay back at first, but then Dina had like this crazy ass monologue trying to basically convince Ellie to let her go with her. But then she was like, if you don't want me to go, I won't go. No, he was like, nah, I want you to go. Let's go. Find the story in the series part 2 better than the game? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Dina going with Ellie doesn't make sense. And it's like super irresponsible. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, the season is ending after tonight, and then they're going to have the season 3, where I guess it's going to be all Abby's side of the story. I vote that I watch you play The Last of Us like we did RE7 and 8. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do that. You want to be in the stream? We can do that part 1 and part 2 if you want. Gonna be a dad is the worst line in TV show history, though. Yeah. And I guess that, like I was saying, that was Craig Mason's, the show director idea. So there's always that issue, especially like when making, I don't know, I cringed so hard I shriveled up into the size of a shrimp. Yeah. Yeah, some choices that are like, why, bro? I watched the first season, thought it was good. Then I analyzed it. I realized they did something I just didn't like. In the first season? What was it? I'll be your commentary. Okay. I'm trying to think of what all they did in season 1. I know in the latest episode when Joel promised that he was going to take Eugene back and let him see his wife, and like he straight up lied to Ellie's face. I guess that's a good reason to give Ellie to be mad at Joel, but like it makes you second guess Joel's character. Ellie being born. Oh yeah. Yeah. But I feel like the whole Eugene shit was unnecessary. Like, why? Like, would Joel really do that? Like, lie to Ellie's face like that and just straight cap Eugene without letting her see his wife? It makes Joel just look cold-hearted. Like, the whole idea behind Ellie being upset with Joel is that he lied to her about the incident in the first game, about her making a cure and how they got attacked by raiders and this and that. Like, now you're making him lie about that and also lie about this Eugene situation. So now it like makes Joel look like a fucking pathological liar, and it's like, okay. I honestly don't think Joel would have lied to Ellie like that to her face. I don't know. Making it seem like he lying his ass off instead of in one selfish moment. Right. Like, he lied to Ellie in good faith. Whereas with Eugene, it's like he lied. I don't know, like, would you try to justify, say, just to be safe? To, quote unquote, protect Ellie? It's like, you guys could have tied him, like she said, tied him up, put him on the back of a horse or something, and like rode out back to town so he could see his wife one last time and have their last words. But Joel's like, nah, we're gonna take you out here to this lake, look at the mountains, and we're gonna cap your ass, put you out of your misery. I don't know. Capped. Domed. So it's an interesting choice. I don't agree with it. I don't know. Maybe it's too nitpicky and like maybe it's just let the people do the show how they want. But at the same time, it's like you get so comfortable with these characters and familiar with these characters, it's like you can't help but kind of criticize, you know. There's never discussed on how and why was even immune to the effect of the virus. Oh, you talking about Ellie? Yeah. Yeah, he said like some people think they should have been kept a mystery. And is she really the only one immune? You know. Be right back, guys. Game, of course, yeah. Like the story for The Last of Us Part 2 is like so long. I wonder how many seasons it's gonna take to tell the story. Because they have so much more to tell, and they're about to end the first season tonight, and they're like what? I'm trying to. See. See how far they are in the story on the game's perspective. Okay, so the last episode was the flashback with Joel at the museum and all that shit. That was about yeah, about 7 hours in of the 20-hour video that I'm like looked up. Seattle Day 2. About a third of the way. Yeah. I think it's gonna take 3 seasons. Tell the story of the second game. That's crazy because they said season 3. Didn't they say? I read somewhere like season 3 was going to be Ellie's or Abby's story or something like that. Think we could watch this video? Game Theory. Ellie is not immune. The Last of Us Part 2. Is that from Game Theory? Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah. Like the Game Theorist. Ellie not immune? About some theory on Ellie condition, I kind of agree with it, some of it, but it would make sense. Yeah. Okay. Pull it up.
No cutesy jokes here. Let's just cut to the chase. Ellie.
Gives a good explanation. You gotta watch that. I might have watched it before. Maybe. I don't know, when did this come out? 4 years ago? Check it out.
immune. Period. End of story. And today, I'm gonna prove it to you because the implications of what this means for the entire franchise are huge. Internet, welcome to Game Theory, the show that was bit by an infected nerd back in 2009 and hasn't been showing any symptoms of nerd rage since. Honest.
No! At least box stacking makes sense.
Sometimes you gotta know when to call it.
But today I'm not here to talk about my rage. I'm here to talk to you about a game that's either causing you
Been a
to
while since I've
rage
seen this
or
guy.
making you think it's all the rage, depending on which perspective you're coming from. That's right, friends. Today I'm tackling The Last of Us Part 2. The game with A+ 10 out of 10 ratings from some, 0 stars out of 5 from others, and a big fat debunked from yours truly. That's right. Today I'm not here to take sides on whether this is a good game or an awful game.
How would she
I'm here to
not
tell
be
you that
immune?
There is something serious.
He's
that we've
gotten
all
bit
overlooked
several
in the
times
game,
and it
it
hasn't
rocks
changed.
the very foundation that this franchise was built on. More specifically, the main character of the game, Ellie, is not the linchpin in the story that we're told. In fact, there's nothing special about her. She most likely is not immune to the zombifying fungus plaguing the Last of Us universe. And the craziest thing of all is I think that the developers might know this. You thought you were mad about the story decisions made by this game before? Just wait until you hear about the decisions that they've been hiding in plain sight the entire time. But let's back up. To fully understand what I'm talking about today, we need to rewind briefly to catch everyone up on The Last of Us Part 1 so we can immediately dismantle it right afterward. The Last of Us Part Uno takes place in a universe where the fungus Cordyceps, a real-world fungus that we've already talked about on the channel, mutates to use humans as hosts. If you aren't familiar with the fungus, it's the closest you'll ever get to a real-life version of the movie Alien. In the game, Cordyceps takes over a huge portion of the human population, and protagonist Joel loses his daughter in the initial outbreak, becoming a smuggler to survive in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. One day, he's asked to smuggle Ellie, a 14-year-old girl who was bit by an infected zombie, but who magically never turned into a monster. Suddenly, the whole hope for humanity rests on this one girl, as she needs to get across the country to a bunch of scientists so they can create a vaccine using her to solve the outbreak once and for all. Again, I just covered that topic in a recent theory and talked about the fact that it's not only a bad idea, but a complete scientific whoopsie-daisy since you create vaccines to combat viruses and not fungal infections, but you know what? For today's theory, we're just gonna roll with it. Anyway, since there's a Last of Us Part 2, you can imagine that things don't quite go as planned at the end of that first game. Turns out the scientists are gonna kill Ellie to get her blood for this impossible vaccine, and she's a protagonist, so that's not gonna fly.
Making a vaccine would have killed you, so I stopped them.
Joel decides to save Ellie's life from the stupid dumb vaccine doctors, which, you know, doesn't make Ellie too happy in the sequel when she finds out.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have mattered. Took that from me.
From there, The Last of Us Part 2 is basically Ellie's revenge drama, which I don't really have to spoil in order for you to understand this theory. Suffice it to say, the game devolves into a violent killing spree because, I mean, this is a video game, so unless you're flexing your interior decorating muscle on your own private island, you're going on a killing spree. Also, it's worth noting that pretty much everything we see Ellie do throughout The Last of Us Part 2 would be scientifically impossible based on the information that the game is explicitly giving to us, but we're about to get to that right now, so no more pussyfooting around. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about Ellie's so-called immunity. She's the only person with it, and both games hinge on the idea that she has some special medical magic going on inside of her that can help save the rest of the world.
After you took me out of the Firefly Hospital, you said there were dozens of people like me. I've never met another immune person before.
But you see, even though that's all we understand about it, that's not all the game tells us about it. The Last of Us Part 1 actually has a single recording from a surgeon that gives us a much greater understanding of Ellie's condition.
The girl's infection is like nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, the antigenic titers...
The patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid. Blood cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cell lines, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines. And an MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the limbic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients.
Ah, yes, some high-quality medical gobbledygook, my friends. Very insightful, very intriguing. I'm sure that if you're like 99.9% of the gaming population without an advanced medical degree, you heard the word titers, giggled that it looked like titters, then looked for the skip conversation button to get on with the zombie killing. Turns out, though, there's a lot of information hidden inside that little paragraph, enough to tell us that Ellie isn't having a normal reaction to the fungal infection, and also that something's not right about the way the science is being scienced. Let's break down what this audio log is actually telling us. We know that cordyceps is the fungus that infects people, so we already know one word. We're on our way. An antigenic titer is just a test to see if the thing that's infecting you is really infecting you. So in the first sentence here, he's basically saying, we tested for cordyceps. Yep, it's there. This line here about serums and fluids tells us that it's in her brain and in her spine. If you keep going, it basically translates to, should be turning her into a zombie, but oh look, it's not. This one's important here. Her white blood cells, the ones that usually go crazy when they find an infection in your body, aren't doing anything. The rest of the recording basically says that everything that should be swollen, elevated, angry, and zombie-like in her body just isn't, even though she's technically infected. In short, her immune system isn't reacting to this infection at all. They go on to say that this is like the biggest medical breakthrough ever, yada yada yada. Turns out that these guys did not exactly graduate at the top of their medical school class, or at the very least, they flunked out of their course on immunology. Immunology is kind of exactly what it sounds like, the study of how and why people are immune to things and how your immune system works. Under normal circumstances, your immune system regulates itself. Your body discovers something that shouldn't be in there, and everybody rallies together in your bloodstream to kick it out. Get off my lawn! And by lawn, I mean out of my body. This involves an inflammatory response, including your white blood cells getting produced in overdrive to eat up the invading bacteria, virus, fungi, or whatever. Sometimes there's lots of other inflammatory reactions, like your body giving you a fever, swelling, turning red around the infection. All of that is your immune system doing its best to fight off something that shouldn't be in your body. In the Last of Us universe, the cordyceps fungus attacks your body, and your body has a big inflammatory response while you turn into a zombie. So what is different about Ellie? As we just listened to in that audio log, her immune system isn't reacting. So is that the reason she has this magical medical protection against the fungus? No, but we don't know that until The Last of Us Part 2. You see, again, just like in the first game, we get the briefest of glimpses as to the detailed inner workings of how Ellie's condition functions. Here, we get ourselves a look at Ellie's medical records, and immediately we start to see something that doesn't quite add up. Again, we're presented with what looks like scientific junkety junk, but what it really is a pretty intelligible CBC blood panel that we've seen in every major medical drama ever. Most of us have had one of these charts made for ourselves when we get our blood work done, and it shows the various levels of stuff in your blood system. You'll notice several things on this chart labeled with an L. That means that their levels are low relative to normal. In Ellie's blood work, we see that her WBC, her white blood cells, her RBC, red blood cells, her HCT, or hematocritical cells, and her hemoglobin, or HGB, are all low. Bit of a head scratcher for a girl who's supposed to be infected with a fungus that's causing an inflammatory reaction. In fact, she's supposedly infected with this fungus, but she's experiencing the reverse of what you would expect. What
I wonder if she could infect people if she bit someone.
By the way, it's worth pointing out that these numbers in themselves are a bit outlandish, even for a video game. If these were real-life numbers, Ellie would be almost non-functional with a red blood cell count this low. You can see on this chart that the lowest red blood cell levels should be about 4.0 microliters. Ellie is half of that, meaning that she is suffering from some serious anemia. In reality, she would be freezing cold, incredibly weak, her hands would be numb, her lips would be blue. Also, notice that her white blood cell count, the cells fighting off infections, are also half of their normal range, meaning that the deadliest thing to Ellie in this game isn't Abby or zombies or anyone coming after her, it's catching a cold. So anyway, we're taking it on faith that she's still standing right now, but back to the zombies. Because here's the big reveal, friend. The truth of all of Ellie's medical information points us to one conclusion. She does have cordyceps, she just has the wrong type of cordyceps. You see, cordyceps, the magical zombie fungus, isn't a single fungus at all. Not even close. Cordyceps is actually a family of fungi that contain about 400 different species, some of which turn animals into zombies, some of which, believe it or not, cause the exact symptoms that we see present in Ellie. The Last of Us developers most likely modeled the in-game fungus on the species Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, which is the real fungus that actually turns ants into zombies, like you see what happens with people in the game, right down to the fungus sprouting straight out of the head. But Cordyceps brings a lot more to the party. Meet a different species, Tolipocladium inflatum, which sounds like a fungus
we're learning
pool
that
float or
Ellie isn't
forgotten Harry
immune,
Potter
apparently.
spell. This separate brand of Cordyceps is used to create the medicine cyclosporin, the world's most commonly
different
used
type of
immunosuppressive drug, or in normal people terms, a drug that gives you all the results that we see in Ellie's medical chart. Lowers your white blood cell count, prevents all your inflammation, in short, wipes out your immune system, and all from a Cordyceps fungus. Normally, this fungus can't interact with a human host, but remember, in the Last of Us universe, it's well established that these fungi have mutated so they can infect humans. If the zombie strain of Cordyceps can do it, why not any strain of Cordyceps, including the one that wipes out your immune system? The fact is that this is a more reasonable explanation for why Ellie isn't responding to the zombie fungus like everyone else, yet still reads positive for Cordyceps. She's not magic, she's just not infected with the same strain. And you see, this explains everything. Remember, in that first recording, the surgeon says that she tests positive for Cordyceps.
The antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid.
Well, if she was indeed infected with this other branch of the fungus, this would be true. She is testing positive, just not for the zombie species of Cordyceps, a different one. To get that sort of false positive, the antigen test that the surgeon is giving her just isn't specific enough to tell the difference between the two closely related fungal strains. Not that hard to believe. And there's more. Not only does this explanation address her weird medical chart, it also explains why she continues walking around in the game without ever getting infected. Remember that bite and the fact that she doesn't wear a mask when walking around to protect her from fungal spores? We know all too well these days the importance of wearing a mask. So why isn't Ellie just picking up the deadly strain of Cordyceps along with the one that she already has? Even if Ellie isn't initially infected with the right species of fungus, you would think that at some point she would pick it up since she's walking around inhaling spores left and right. Right? No, actually, not at all. It turns out that even if Ellie were infected with the bad version of the fungus, from the first bite, from the spores, whatever, it couldn't have turned her into a zombie because cyclosporin is also an antifungal medicine. That's right, the good version of Cordyceps that I'm theorizing that she has not only suppresses her immune system like we're seeing in her blood work, but also wards off other fungi. Doesn't even feel badly about it either. Cyclosporin A, produced directly by the Tolipocladium inflatum, is used to treat even severe fungal infections, including serious ones in the eyes, which we know from the game is the first area that the zombie Cordyceps attack. So having one version of Cordyceps is actually keeping Ellie from getting any other version. This also explains how Ellie can continue to walk around in game without a mask. She's not immune to Cordyceps in the sense that she can't get infected. She's immune in the sense that she's already infected with another closely related fungus from the same family that kills off any of its brothers and sisters. Again, those white blood cell counts of hers aren't looking too good, so she should probably avoid like pretty much everything else, but otherwise, she's a walking antifungal machine. So the one thing and only thing that she doesn't have to worry about in this world is becoming a zombie. So there you have it, friends. The key to stopping the Cordyceps zombie apocalypse in the Last of Us universe was more Cordyceps. It wasn't about becoming immune to the Cordyceps fungus, it was just about being infected by the other correct strain of it. The upshot here is, in a global zombie pandemic, study up on your fungi and don't assume anything about who's immune and who isn't. Just like wear a mask and keep a safe distance from anyone who could have been exposed. Is there like a lesson to be learned about the current state of the world from this theory? Nah, can't be it. I mean, walking around wearing a mask, that's just a theory, right? No, that's a fact. But as for Ellie and her immunity, that was a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Interesting.
Or who knows? Maybe you're just listening. I've been saying thanks for watching since the very first episodes of this channel, but more and more people are just listening.
Interesting to say the least. I mean, it's definitely like hyper technical shit. She's not immune, but she's also immune. Yeah, that is interesting though. You said Joel could have been right. So like, if she isn't immune or she isn't infected with a certain type of cordyceps, if they went to go make a vaccine or a cure, would that cure only be for that certain type of cordyceps, or would it cover all cordyceps? You know what I mean? It's interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because they would have thought like, oh, she's infected with cordyceps, but they didn't specify which one. And then she does die, and they go to make a vaccine, but it's only for that specific version of cordyceps that she was infected with. So it wasn't like a full-on global cure. I don't know. Or it could be just, like you said, she's not immune, but like her having that other type of cordyceps helped block off every other cordyceps. So you're not infected with that version, but it blocks off the others. So it's like still technically you're kind of immune. I don't know. Interesting stuff, though. Interesting stuff. Good video, though. I like game theories. That's just a theory. Matt Pat rules. Yeah, didn't he retire? I think the channel's still going though. Maybe there are 2 sets of cordyceps and she got lucky. Right, yeah. Something like that. It also is like surprising that nobody else is infected, that like she's literally the only one. I mean, the show kind of explains it in a way and shows it in a way that, yeah, she could only be the only one immune due to the circumstances of how she was birthed, the right time of her mother's infection, to where that like the cordyceps passed through her. But like, I don't know. I can't even remember how it was done in the show. Like, she gave birth while she was bitten or something like that. So that kind of like a certain timing made it to where she was immune, and like the chances of that happening were like not gonna be a thing unless you intentionally did it. I guess you could, like if you but how would you find that out? You know, people, you know. Oh, let's get this person that's about to have a baby, and right before they give birth, we have her get bit. It's kind of fucked up. If you intentionally do that to birth an immune baby. That's given that the show's lore is accurate. Fungi have a bro code. If you're already in this bitch, I'm not going in. They don't be homie hopping, bro. If they didn't do that, they could have used her immunity as a plot device. Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, like, does that apply to the game? Is that how she became immune in the game, or is that just how they wanted to change it for the show? Because on the game side of it, there's still potential for other people to be immune. You know? I don't know. That's just a theory. But I think I'm gonna call it there, fellas. We've been almost gone for 2 hours. I need to take more of my medicine and eat something and edit some videos and get some stuff done. Fun chatting with y'all, though. Going over some theories, going over some rumors. Well, it's actually no longer a rumor, you know. Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann confirmed it. Secret game in the work. Yeah, boy. They can still do it in the game, but the TV show could be donezo. Yeah. I'm sure there's a way. They sit down, they get in a room, get together, brainstorm over it. Would be crazy seeing Ellie going face to face with like another immune person. Fucking gladiator battle. Good talking with you. Yes, likewise. Yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Fun chatting with you guys. We'll do it again sometime soon. Hopefully I get another video out tomorrow. The rest of you guys will get episode 3 of the random loadout of the week. It was up for members last week, but this week, Monday, you guys will get it. Something to look forward to. And then we got a couple other videos lined up. Maybe we'll get a couple streams in. Just glad that I'm feeling better. I'm not super sick. Strep throat is no joke. But with that said, I'm going to hop off here, guys. Y'all have a fantastic day. It's Chris Johnson. He coming in right at the end. What's going on, man? I appreciate you stopping by. Unless you were lurking. I don't know. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.